3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. 4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. I got Mike Samter. I got Stuart Kovacs along the other way. We are rocking and rolling all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. The former Florida coach, Mississippi State head coach, now doing a good job on the ESPN, Dan Mullen. He's going to stop by at the top of the hour. And I guess it's a Florida Gators day at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Pacific. Former Patriot and Ram. Also, Florida Gators defensive lineman Dominique Easley is going to join us in studio. I am going to the game tonight between my New England Patriots and the JATS Jets. If you are watching us on YouTube, you could see I'm wearing a throwback Patriot uniform, the great Pro Football Hall of Famer and a family friend in Andre Tippett. But let's start with that game tonight. And I'm not going to really cover it from a Patriot angle. We're going to cover it more so from the Jets, because you look at the Patriots, their starting left tackle and left guard are both out. The Patriots' offensive line is already abysmal when it comes to pass protection. The key for the Patriots tonight, if they're going to want to keep this a close game, they're going to have to keep the ball away from the Jets. They're going to have to keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers. And I can't really trust Jacoby Brissett to do much, but they need Ramondre Stevenson. They need Antonio Gibson to run, and run the ball all night long. And you hope your defense with Christian Gonzalez, who's one of the better cornerbacks in football, Keon White, who's a young, exciting pass rusher in the NFL, could find a way to continue to make the Jets offense look like what it's been through the first 2 weeks of the season. And that's a work in progress. So that's kind of the Patriots' game plan today. It is old school, smash mouth football, control the clock, and run the ball. It's not really conducive to how offense is played in the year of 2024, where a lot of teams are throw until your quarterback's arm does fall off. Now, when we look at the Jets, I'm trying to figure out what the Jets are, right? Some people go into this year where they say same old Jets, whenever the Jets have expectations, they will find a way to mess it up. Other people go, hey, look at this Jets roster. It's one of the better rosters in the NFL. The Jets should be a good football team. The Jets should be a playoff team. And I don't think anyone said, oh, the Jets are winning the Super Bowl this year, but maybe a chance to be a Super Bowl contender if things really do take off. And I've watched both Jets games to start the year. You know, I do that show Saturday mornings on WFAN, so I'm plugged in to the Jets. And when I watched the Jets on the opening game of the season, Monday Night Football, against the San Francisco 49ers, that game to me, the big takeaway was the defense was overrated. Now, you went up against Christian McCaffrey being out, so you had Jordan Mason, so you got a break. You look at the 49ers offense, we know that they have the ability to be a great offense. They've been one of the better teams in the NFL the last few years, but the Jets defense and their fans will tell anyone that will listen how great the Jets defense is. Right? They'll compare them to the 85 Bears, the LOB, the early 2000 Ravens, the Steel Curtain, like any all-time great defense that you could think of. Jets fans think that their defense is in that playing field. Well, week one of the season, they clearly were not. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad defense, because that would be a gross overreaction. All I'm saying is this defense is solid. This defense is good. This defense has a lot of playmakers, Quincy Williams, Sauce Gardner, but the defense has been overrated. This is not a great defense where, yes, you're concerned about the Jets defense when you go up against them, but you're not shaking in your boots. Because if this was a great, and I mean an all-time great defense like the Jet fan wants you to believe, Jordan Mason isn't going for 150 yards at opening night. And quite frankly, in week two, the defense was, I guess you could say, better. You couldn't get worse than what they were up against San Francisco. But that was a tight game where Will Levis bailed you out on a terrible turnover. That it wasn't like, oh, you praised the Jets defense for forcing that turnover. That was just football incompetence by Mayo Boy in Will Levis. And then Calvin Ridley made a ridiculous grab for a touchdown. And Sauce Gardner, we saw, multiple times throughout the year so far, the first two games of the season has, I'm not going to say he's a bad corner because that's crazy. Right? He's an all-pro. We know what he is. But he's not as good as he thinks. He's a very good player. But he thinks, like, without a doubt, he's the best corner in the league. I think that's Pat Surtain the second. We'll see those two teams play coming up very shortly. And you look at Sauce Gardner, there's a bad image earlier in the season, right, when he was sucking wind and he had to check himself out of the game. And everyone's like, oh, no, he just needed a breath. Needed a breath. And maybe he needed a breath after that performance still. You never know. That's a classic radio misspeak. But, hey, it happens. We continue to move things along. But you take a glance at this Jets defense. I think this, and I'll get to the offense in just a second, but this Jets defense tonight needs to make a statement. And the Jets not only need to win, and I say this in a Patriot jersey, I say this, I'm rooting for the Patriots, obviously, in the game tonight. But let me do this as an honest football fan here. If the Jets want me to believe that they're going places where the delusional football fan thinks they could go, they need to not only win the game tonight, they need to blow out the Patriots. And that defense needs to take advantage of a below-average NFL offense. An offensive line, and the Jets defense has not been able to generate a pass rush through the first two games of the season. But you need to constantly put Jacoby Brissett, when he does drop back, under duress. And you should be able to. It's kind of crazy. Look at what the Bengals did and Trey Hendrickson did in week 2 up against Kansas City. Hendrickson almost single-handedly won the game. In week 1, the Patriots' offensive line somehow, some way played a good game. Like, that was more of an indictment in week 1 on the Bengals than that was, the Patriots' offensive line is better than advertised, and it's great. Because it's the farthest thing from great, and up against Seattle, that offensive line couldn't give Jacoby Brissett a second to process and a second to think. Just couldn't do so. So I look at tonight for the Jets. I don't care who is injured for the Jets. Jermaine Johnson out for the Jets for the season. Hassan Reddick not reporting. If the Jets are a serious team, if the Jets are a serious contender, they maul this Patriot offensive line that's no good, and they take advantage of a left tackle and a left guard who are already out of the game, and the Patriots are putting whatever in at backups there. So I look at this game tonight. For the Patriots, it's a gravy game. Now, the Patriots are 1-1 to start off the season. They beat the Bengals. They took the Seahawks to overtime. Gerard Mayo needs to go for it on 4th and 1 in overtime. But this Patriots offense, outside of Ramondre Stevenson and really Antonio Gibson and a little sprinkle of Hunter Henry, they don't got much. Like, maybe Jalen Polk turns into something. Eventually you'll see Drake May. But this is a Jets defense tonight that if they think they're the 85 Bears. They're not the 85 Bears. But if this Jets defense can't look like the 85 Bears tonight, there are problems with the Jets. And not only that, the offense tonight for the Jets, the Patriots have a solid defense. Even though the Patriots were god-awful last year, the Patriots had a good defense a year ago, and a lot of those players return. Gerard Mayo, now the head coach, familiar with the coaching staff. And not only that, you have a scenario where, by the way, people do not know what's going on behind the scenes here. The fact that I'm able to get through the first 10 minutes of this show with what's happening behind the scenes right now in this studio, I deserve some type of award. I really do. Like, Samter and Stu, could we do our jobs here, please? You got people running in. Ray Martell, who I love, he's sitting next to me at the game tonight. Can one of you guys do your job and tell Ray Martell to get out of here? He's running in with the Gerard Mayo jersey, basically mocking Samter, doing a Jets chant in his face, and he keeps on waving to me. I'm trying to host a show. I'm trying to keep a thought here. Get Ray out of here. Jeez, I'm trying to do a show here, a national show. Ray's, in the words of Mike Francesa, Ray has got to calm down. All right? Ray has got to calm down. Get Ray out of the studio as I'm trying to do a show here. But what I'm saying is, as we get back to the Jets, I already broke down their defense and how their defenses look great tonight. But offensively, I see this Jets offense, I don't think they're that far away. Like, if you ask me, which is crazy because the strength of this team for the Jets was supposed to be defense, and the offense just put it together, and it'll be much better than anything that they've had in pretty much a decade. But that offense in week one, when they had the ball, which they didn't have it for much, you saw what Rodgers is. You know Rodgers isn't as great as he once was, but he could still be a good, efficient quarterback in this league. Garrett Wilson is a solid wide receiver, a very good wide receiver, and Breece Hall had a stinker in game one, but then bounced back in a big way in game two. So you look at the Jets offense, I thought they even showed some signs when they barely had the ball up against the Niners, and against Tennessee, they did get better. But this is a Patriots defense that I know Bentley is out, and he's going to be out for quite some time, but you do got Keon White, you do got Christian Gonzalez as well. But if the Jets are serious, and I know the Pats defense is solid, but if the Jets are seriously a very good team this year, you don't let a Patriots defense cause so much havoc where you can't play a 60-minute brand of football. So when we break down all of this, where I'm getting at is you don't walk away from tonight with the Jets if they blow out the Patriots like heaping praise on the Jets, because that should be expected out of them. But if it goes the other way, like this is why it's really a no-win situation for the Jet fan tonight. But if this game is close, or if this game, dare I say it, and I hope it happens, if the Patriots beat the Jets tonight, you reevaluate everything that you thought the Jets could be. And I think there's a good question to ask right here out of the gate, and we'll ask it. Bare minimum success for the Jets this year. If you are a Jet fan, to walk away from this season saying, okay, bare minimum, they need to do this for it to be successful, what would that be? And I'll throw out a few options here. And I'll put this on my Twitter page. We'll make a poll question out of it at Zach Gelb. Make the playoffs, win a playoff game, be in a conference championship game, or be in a Super Bowl. With what I've seen through the first 2 weeks, and I know it could get better for the Jets, I can't see this team being in a Super Bowl. And I didn't think this team could be in the Super Bowl before the season started because Aaron Rodgers had an easier road in Green Bay and couldn't find a way to get to the Super Bowl for a second time in Green Bay after winning a Super Bowl early on in his career, and he had many opportunities to do so. I also have a tough time with how jammed up the AFC is, seeing the Jets be in an AFC championship game. So, I understand why Jets fans, because they have a good roster on paper, and you have a limited window with Rodgers to say, hey, they got to go to an AFC championship game. They got to go to a Super Bowl this year. But I just don't feel that in my bones. But on the other two answers of this question, just making the playoffs, I know the Jets haven't made the playoffs since 2010. I don't think that should be something that we're sitting here jumping up and down like fat kids in a candy store and saying, oh, we have to say the Jets season is a success if they just make the playoffs. I think they got to win a playoff game this year. They got to make the playoffs and win a playoff game, and then after that, everything is gravy. But tonight, you will get a better understanding on if the Jets are closer to a contender or if they're closer to a pretender. Because a contending football team, after the first 2 weeks, have been sloppy, and it has been clunky, and it has been ugly, and it hasn't been a clean product. They use this game like it's a preseason game. And what I mean by that is they dictate how the game is going to be played, and also you work on some things up against an inferior opponent, and you blow them out. That, to me, would be a sign, okay, the Jets are moving in the right direction because they smacked an inferior opponent. But if you allow that inferior opponent to be within one score late or pull out a victory in your building, you could take every take that was about the Jets before the season that was positive and rip it up after 3 weeks into the season. Because if the Jets lose tonight, they sit at 1-2 with a horrible rancid performance up against the Niners, a game against Tennessee where you didn't walk away feeling all that great. It was a sigh of relief that you pulled that one out. And then if you lose to the Patriots when the Patriots are supposedly down and out, it's, you still can't beat this football team when you're expected to beat this football team. So, bare minimum, what's a successful season for the Jets this year? They have to win a playoff game. What say you? 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. I'm going to go rush Ray Martell during this break. The way I envision this is how the Patriots offensive line will probably look tonight, and I'll be a Jets edge rusher, even though I don't want to see that happen tonight. But we got to go smack Ray Martell around during the break and kind of give him a little payback for what he just pulled for the first 10 minutes of our extravaganza. When we come on back, Samter sent this to me yesterday. And it's the NFL's most annoying poll. Now, the NFL doesn't do this, but we'll give you the results of this poll question in just a bit. But they have listed the 5 most voted on annoying players in the NFL. When we return, Stu will give me his top 5 most annoying players. I'll give you my top 5 most annoying players. And I'll tell you this. This was a very difficult exercise because there's one player that was on this list in the top 5 that I don't even consider him an NFL player anymore. So I was surprised to see his name. And there's 2 other guys that I'm like, they shouldn't be in the top 5 as well. You know, maybe 2 I could see, and quite frankly, only 1 I could see. But let me just check my list here real quickly, as I'll do a little preview right now. I'm not going to give you any of my answers. The top 5 on these results. Stu, what if I told you? Now I sound like I'm doing an ESPN 30 for 30. What if I told you that the 5 people that were in the top 5 on this poll that was released, I don't have a single one of them in my top 5? What if I told you that? Would that surprise you?
A little surprising, yeah.
How many, just wondering, out of the top 5 guys that were on this list are in your top 5?
2.
Okay. We'll get into that on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. Football is back, and what better way to celebrate than winning some cash with Sleeper Picks? Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you could win real money. Just pick more or less than at least 2 player stats. If your picks are right, you win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money, and Sleeper has a couple huge offers to kickstart the football season. For new users, Sleeper will match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections for you every week of the season. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be doubled with the credit up to $100. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and use code SCORE for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE, SCORE. Must be 18 years in most states where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Paid for by Blitz Studios.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So the Action Network took a poll. They polled fans, and they've compiled the list of the top 5 most annoying players in the NFL. In at number 5, Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. In at number 4, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City, how about those Chiefs? In at number 3, Odell Beckham Jr. In at number 2, Travis Kelce. And in at number 1, Aaron Rodgers. Now, Stu, I don't know about you. Dak Prescott, 5 most annoying players in the NFL? I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, I don't find Dak to be annoying. He's a good quarterback. He has to put up with all the crap of Jerry Jones. He doesn't say anything that's like ever all that crazy. He kind of says, yeah, I just am basically immune to everything that goes on with all the drama in this organization. I understand not liking the Cowboys quarterback, but it doesn't mean that Dak Prescott, there's a difference in not liking someone and then finding someone annoying. Like, for example, this may go the other way. Like Samter, I don't dislike Samter, but he can maybe be annoying, right? There's a difference in there. I'm just teasing, of course. But when you look at someone like Dak Prescott, there's a difference in not liking, right? Everyone craps on the Cowboys quarterback. But I don't think Dak Prescott is polarizing and annoying. That, to me, I think is ridiculous that Dak is on this list.
I don't think I even considered him. If there was a list of 20, I don't think he would make the top 20.
Patrick Mahomes,
No.
I understand hating him, right? Because his team always wins and he's great. The only time I ever found Mahomes to be annoying was when they lost that game to the Bills and he was bitching about the call that was the right call, and then he didn't even let Josh Allen enjoy the moment, and he was just telling Josh Allen how bad the call was. But outside of that, Mahomes is kind of Steph Curry-like, where it doesn't matter, how much he wins. He's someone that's easy to relate to and that you just really like. So I don't find Patrick Mahomes either to be annoying.
I probably should, since I'm a Raiders fan. He annoys me. His winning annoys me, but Mahomes himself, no, definitely doesn't annoy me.
Odell Beckham Jr., this list is a sham, by the way. Do you even consider him an NFL player anymore?
So I understand that point, but considering he still is on a roster, he's actually one of the guys that made my list.
Okay, so we'll get to your list in just a second. So he could be annoying. There's a no doubt about it. You know what? When Odell was in New York, I actually did a charity event with Odell Beckham Jr. And I got to spend like an hour and a half with Odell. Could not have been a nicer guy. Seriously, like what you hear about Odell is totally different than just from that one charity event that I was at. It was awesome. It's when he was younger in his career. I can understand why people view him as annoying. But like, when was the last time Odell Beckham Jr. got through a season? Like, I'm looking at games played. 2019, played in 16 games. 2020, he was there. He's in Cleveland for 7. Then 2021, yeah, he had a good Super Bowl until he got hurt. But this guy doesn't play like a full season. Last year, he played 14 games for the Ravens. Was there really any memorable moment of Odell Beckham Jr. really with the Ravens? That was a guy that his first 3 years in the league, he looked like he was going to be one of the all-time greats. And ever since then, I know he's had 2 1,000-yard seasons since those monster first 3 years in the NFL. 1,300 yards, 1,450, 1,367, 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns. But since then, he played 4 games in 2017, had 302 yards and 3 touchdowns. In 2018, played 12 games, 1,052, 6 touchdowns. 2019, 16 games, 1,035 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Since then, in 2020, he played 7 games, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. 2021, had 6 games in Cleveland for 232 yards. Then had 8 games with the Rams. Remember, Woods got hurt, and then there was more expected out of him, and he had 305 yards. And last year with Baltimore, he put up 565 yards in 14 games played. So it's like, I could see why people find Odell annoying, but it's tough for me to even still consider him like an NFL player, and he's not really on like the tip of in the front of your mind because of just how bad that career has been as of late. Travis Kelce. Now, you're a Swiftie, so I'm assuming you don't find Travis Kelce annoying, but I can understand why the macho man, the alpha male, is going to sit there and go, enough of Taylor Swift on my TV screen. Enough of her. Kelce, stop it. I don't find Kelce annoying, though.
No, me neither.
Yeah, he's an attention whore, don't get me wrong, but you should be when you're a tight end. And quite frankly, I'd want to be in front of all the cameras if I was dating Taylor Swift. Rodgers. I could see why people find Rodgers annoying, but none of these 5 guys were on my list. Not even Aaron Rodgers wasn't on my list, because even though Rodgers can sometimes be a douche, and I understand that, and he's very hypocritical at times, and he has all these wacky conspiracy theories. The reason I don't find Rodgers annoying is he's just so great on the field at times. And for most of his career, that's what overshadows me with that instead of just calling him annoying. So none of those 5 guys are on my list. You have 2, you said?
I do. I have 2.
And one was Odell, and I'm assuming the other is Aaron Rodgers,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay, so give me your list 5 to 1. Least annoying to most annoying.
All right, number 5 is a Cowboy that is not Dak Prescott. It's Micah Parsons. I feel like he's just always talking. He's always doing his podcast. There's always something he's saying on his podcast that's just a little...
Or on this show.
A little too much, a little over the top. So I think Micah Parsons, for me, kind of annoys me, yeah.
I had him on my list, and I substituted him out on the 5th spot.
Interesting.
I took him out, and here's why. Came on this show, said something that was really annoying and was really crazy.
Yeah.
But it did almost 5 million views on X. You know what, Micah? Smack you on the behind. Good job there, buddy.
Keep saying that stuff.
Yeah. So, Mike, if you're listening, that was Stu, not me. So, if you're annoyed at someone, that was Stu Kovacs. All right, who's 4 on your list?
Number 4 for me is Odell Beckham Jr. Now, I hear what you're saying, but to me, the way that he's covered, and maybe it's not totally his fault, but
he's still covered like he's elite.
He's still covered like he's a top 5 to 10 wide receiver, where he's clearly not.
And he still thinks he is one.
Yeah, like when he signed with the Dolphins this offseason, I remember that was like everyone made it such a huge story, and it's just like, it should not be. And I think, again, like you said, maybe he's not a bad guy. I don't think it's about being a good or bad guy. I just think, like, just when I hear the name Odell Beckham Jr., I just kind of go like, ugh, in my head.
Okay. So you have Micah 5, Odell 4. Who's 3?
3 is Rodgers. he irks me, especially the last few years. Just the more and more he talks, again, I love him, the quarterback, especially in his prime as a Packer quarterback, but just in his later stage of his career, just gets to me a lot.
All right, in a 2?
So this might be a bit of a homer pick, if you will. Derek Carr really annoys me. He annoyed me as a Raider. He annoys me post being a Raider. He's had a really good start to the season. Good for him, but it feels like it's always something with him. It's always someone to blame. It's a woe is me type of thing. So Carr is number 2.
This is how I know Stu has been working with me a lot. Because I have Derek Carr second on my list.
Nice.
And I literally have written next to it, woe is me, guy.
Perfect.
And in at number 1?
I don't think this is even, I kind of feel bad for this guy where his career has gone, but I don't think this is even close for me. Russell Wilson, to me, is the most annoying player in the NFL right now. Especially since he left Seattle. The time in Denver, the time now, it's just too much.
We have 3 players. I think 2 players. Sorry. 2 players, the same. So I'll give you my list. I'll go 5-1. But we have 2 players that are the same. In at number 5, this was a surprise one. I have recently found this guy annoying. Jamar Chase. Now, let me be clear. I think Jamar Chase is absolutely being screwed by the Cincinnati Bengals. They are going to pay him. They should not make him do this song and dance right now of waiting for the contract. But with that being said, week 1, shut down by Christian Gonzalez, had 6 catches for 62 yards. Then talks a big game against Kansas City, right? It talks a lot of smack, runs a huge mouth leading into that one. 4 receptions, 35 yards. Jamar Chase in the last week, to me, has become insufferable. Great player. Loved him at LSU with Orgeron. Go Tigers. Was a huge fan of his coming out of college. And loved him early on in the NFL. But the last week, when you run your mouth the way that you did, fail to show up, then cost your team on the field going after the officials, then you're acting like a jackass on the sideline when your quarterback was trying to help you out, who's like your best friend in Joe Burrow, he became annoying. That was the player I threw in, and I took Micah Parsons out. In at number 4, it's Stu's number 1, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has become a poser, right? He used to be great. Russell Wilson, he thought he needed to leave Seattle because he was chasing Brady, right? He goes, I'm sick and tired of being at the Super Bowl as a guest. I want to get back to the Super Bowl. I want to win the most Super Bowls ever. But he wasn't focused on football. He was focused on basically being like trying out for a reality TV show pretty much, with how much drama he's associated himself with. And it's all about the brand of Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson with the Broncos country, let's ride. I know it's the Steelers. They say, here we go. He says, here we go. The stretching on the plane and all that stuff. He's just become very phony since leaving Seattle. So I put Russell Wilson in at 4. 3. It's another former Denver Bronco, Jerry Jeudy. This guy is overpaid. This guy in Denver, he thought he was Jerry Rice, for crying out loud. That's how great he thought he was. And this dude has been disappointing in the NFL, Jerry Jeudy. And that annoys me when you think you're like great and you think you're a stud, but you end up being a dud for most of your career and not meeting expectations. In at number 2, I'm with Stu. Derek Carr. Woe is me. He's always the victim. I know he's off to a great start. Congratulations. I was on a podcast today. They're like, oh, do you believe in Derek Carr? I'm like, no. Because whenever Derek Carr looks the part, and whenever you think, okay, Derek Carr's on the verge of becoming a top 10 quarterback, he face plants, and it ends up being a miserable 3 or 4 game stretch. That is inevitable, Saints fans. It's just going to happen. In at number 1. So I had Jamar Chase 5, Russell Wilson 4, Jerry Jeudy 3, Derek Carr 2, most annoying players in the NFL. It's Deshaun Watson. With what has gone on off the field, how he has taken zero accountability, he still tries to say he is a great quarterback. He still tries to make you think he's an elite quarterback. This dude has not been great since 2020. And he has been an embarrassment off the field. And on the field, he is someone that is, I'm going to say he's just shot as a player. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be great again. I don't think he's ever going to be good again. And he is mentally cooked, and you could tell he's still chasing that greatness. And how he has the contract that he does. And I get it, right? He wasn't in a jail cell, allowed to play in the league, served the suspension. So he's allowed to go live life. I get that. But how he got off with all this stuff and acts like nothing ever happened and basically has showed zero remorse, please. Deshaun Watson, the most annoying player in the NFL. So the list that was put out by Action, that was voted on the Action Network: Dak Prescott 5, Patrick Mahomes 4, Odell Beckham 3, Travis Kelce 2, Aaron Rodgers 1. I don't have a single player on that list. Stu, your list one more time: 5 to 1 most annoying players in the NFL.
We have number 5, Micah Parsons; number 4, Odell Beckham Jr., number 3, Aaron Rodgers; number 2, Derek Carr; number 1, Russell Wilson.
And mine is Jamar Chase 5, Russell Wilson 4, Jerry Jeudy 3, Derek Carr 2, and Deshaun Watson in at number 1.
Did you consider Debo?
It's funny you say that. It is funny because of my relationship with Debo. I did consider Debo because this is like most hated, like most annoying. And I did see his comments the other day that they've been the best team in the NFL, which they've been one of the best teams in the NFL, but not the best team in the NFL. If you're the best team in the NFL, you win a championship. And Debo, on multiple occasions, when he's been paid to do interviews, not from us, but by a product, he's done a crappy job endorsing the product and the way that he conducts himself in the interview. The first time at the Super Bowl, he was boring when we put him on. He was horrible with us the second time. Thankfully, he hung up the phone. So, at least something good came out of it, because then we were able to trash him and then the whole thing went viral. But he wanted no part of that interview as well. I did consider Debo Samuel. But you know what? I learned to forgive and I learned to forget sometimes. So I left Debo off the list. Debo is old news to me. We have already won that battle. We've already moved on. So it is what it is. Fletcher Cox, I could tell you that, though. If he was doing this list, he would definitely have Debo. We interviewed Fletcher at the Super Bowl, and I could tell this story now. He's retired. And I asked him about Debo, and he did the politically correct answer off the air. And then once we got out of the conversation, he looked at me, and I know him a little bit from Philly. He goes, "You're good." He goes, "I wanted to say a whole lot about Debo." And then once they lost that Super Bowl, he went right to Instagram, and he was popping off about Debo Samuel. He's like, "I still got a ring, Debo. Where's your ring?" All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Dan Mullen will join us 20 minutes from now. We will come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. But first, the latest Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash with the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Week 3 of the NFL season opens with an AFC East rivalry between the Patriots and Jets at MetLife Stadium. The Pats look very different with Bill Belichick no longer coaching the team. They're 1-1 under new coach Gerard Mayo. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett said they're still a work in progress.
From week 1 to week 2, they did a lot of things to try to stop the run, and we still were able to execute that. Hunter obviously had a big day Sunday, but obviously we're still trying to learn our identity, still trying to get better and get more guys involved for sure. And I think we're excited about this opportunity to do that.
The Jets are 1-1 after opening the season in San Francisco and Tennessee. Bengals wideout T. Higgins is back at practice after missing the first 2 games. And also Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert did not take part in drills today, while Jordan Love was in pads for the second straight day. Baseball action this afternoon. Right now, top of the 9th, Giants and Orioles even at 3. The Braves all over the Reds, 12-3, top 8. Matt Olson is homered twice. Twins and Guardians even at 2 in the bottom of the 8th, while the Blue Jays have a 2-0 lead over the Rangers in the bottom of the 4th. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
The Dependable Player of the Week is sponsored by Depend and the Prostate Cancer Foundation, reminding you that health is a long game and screening for prostate cancer is easier than ever. Learn more at Depend.com. This week's player is Packers running back Josh Jacobs in Green Bay's Week 2 win over the Colts. Jacobs carried the ball 32 times, made Ryan Hickey cry, and ran the ball for 151 yards. The Packers won despite having just 122 yards through the air. So we did this list off of the Action Network, the top 5 most annoying players in the NFL. Zach Matlock on Twitter says, this is my please shut the bleep up list. Jameis Winston 5, Russell Wilson 4, Steph Diggs 3, Tyreek Hill 2, Aaron Rodgers 1. You know, we didn't talk about Stephon Diggs. He could be annoying because he never says that it's his fault, and he always makes it out to be Minnesota and Buffalo's fault when he had his outs with those two teams before landing from Minnesota to Buffalo and Buffalo to Houston. MVP Hurts. I don't think that's going to happen this year. Dak is annoying because every single play you have to listen to, here we go. It's so annoying. It's not wrong. That is a little bit annoying. It's funny. When Peyton Manning used to say, Omaha, Omaha, we all love that. But Dak going, here we go, is a little bit annoying. I think that's the only annoying part about Dak Prescott. All righty. Without further ado, and I'm not talking about Freddie Adu, it's time to update you on some of the biggest storylines in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Here we go. New Heights podcast. Jason Kelce on the backlash he received for his ESPN appearance versus the Falcons.
Atlanta had to deal with me for 4 hours before things got rough for the Eagles, and they were like, oh no, come back in the booth. Jason, where you at now? And rightfully so. I want to apologize to Falcons fans watching because I understand that you just had to watch just a Philadelphia celebration in a parade of a former player coming back home.
We all deserve to see that. That was what people wanted to see.
Yeah, I'm just going to say I want to apologize, but I'm not going to because it was awesome. I'm just going to let you know it was a lot of fun. At the same time, I fully understand why a bunch of Atlanta people hate my guts right now, so I apologize.
I like Jason Kelce a lot. I have no problem with him going on that Monday Night Football broadcast, and he's very good on the air. Maybe it's not that audio, but I saw something yesterday that he was apologizing for a take that he gave about the decision to throw the football. Like, just say what you want to say. We know that you don't need to respond to every troll or someone that doesn't like your opinion. And don't be a politician when you get a little pushback. Like, I don't need you to apologize every time and just laugh it off because you're Jason Kelce. You're very good at what you do. Just say what you say and then stand behind it. Here is DJ Moore on showing frustration on the sidelines during the Bears' loss to the Texans.
I shouldn't have shown as much, but it's still part of the game. You know, like I said, we was one play away from the game changing, and we just couldn't connect. Like, nobody on offense could connect with the one play or get the one play started to get us on track to go up. I mean, it's football. Everybody going to have their ups and downs and frustrations.
He was very annoyed, and we know that he wanted Justin Fields to stay as the quarterback, and you could tell the timing is not there between Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. But DJ Moore's usually a good guy. I like him a lot. I respect him a lot. I would have to think him and Caleb Williams through time are going to get on the same page. Here's C.J. Stroud in that viral video we were talking about yesterday when he's basically acting like Tom Brady, even though he's only his second year in the league, and he was giving Caleb Williams advice and basically trying to be like a 10-year NFL veteran to an NFL rookie. Here was C.J. Stroud in that video.
I had some of the best advice given to me last year, and you know, me and Caleb, I was not trying to like treat him like I was trying to like little bro him or not. He knows that too. I have a ton of respect for him. I told him I have respect for him. But I had so many guys coming to me after games last year, and that meant the world to me. That those guys even thought about giving me advice. So I just try to get back to what the game has given to me. So I wish him the best, man. I want him to do amazing in this league. I think he will. I think that he'll get his groove. And once you get your rhythm, I didn't get my rhythm until like week 3, week 4. So I can see his game picking up from here. And so, and you know, I don't think he was trying to like, you know, be any towards way. He's just upset that they lost. I totally understand. So I have a ton of respect for that guy.
See, I think C.J. Stroud meant well there, and his advice was right. I did think it was weird that it was coming from him with the way that he was saying it, even though he had a great rookie season. And then I thought Caleb Williams wanted no part of it as well, and that was also weird. So it was weird all around, but C.J. did mean well. Here is Adam Thielen on the Panthers benching Bryce Young.
It's tough. It's tough for everyone. It's tough. It's tough for a competitor and athlete. But at the end of the day, you can take it one of two ways. Like, it is what it is. That was the decision that was made, and you can either take it in a positive way and show up today and sling the ball all over the field like he did today, and impress all of us by his character and his leadership. It wasn't by chance that he's a captain of his football team. It was not a just handed out C on his jersey. That was a voted on thing. So he proved that today, his leadership, his character, by just coming out there and doing exactly what he is supposed to do.
I don't know about you, Stu. Maybe that's Adam Thielen just being a good teammate. It seems like he's disappointed that Bryce Young got benched.
Yeah, that's kind of the gist I got from that, too.
Now, there may be some people in that locker room that are like, hey, Bryce just doesn't have it. But I don't think everyone in that locker room is ready to give up on Bryce Young, and that's basically what Dave Canales did. All right, final one on the news brief for today. Let's go to Will Levis on the negative reaction he's received from fans.
Thing I'm actually doing today, get a new phone number. I don't know how my number got out there to the fans, but I gotten a lot of texts, so that'll be nice to shut that part of life behind me. And I haven't opened social in the last couple of weeks, so I just think that's the healthiest way to go about it. And I don't want to or care to see any things that people say about me, and I'm just going to keep chugging along regardless of what they say. So but it sucks that the world is the way that it is, and looking forward to having some privacy.
You know, that is weird. Like, I've had that happen to me before, where listeners have somehow got my phone number and then have, texted me. And, they'll berate you over something. That, to me, is weird. You know, I think if it's on social media, okay, it's different. To get someone's personal phone number, even if you send them a supportive message or a negative message, there is some line that needs to be drawn where you're not getting Will Levis's number and then texting him whatever you want to text him. Now, I will say I do have Will Levis's number, so he's changing his number. We usually have a good relationship with Will Levis. So, unless if I get that text, hey, Zach, here's my new number, I guess that's it for our relationship with Will Levis. But even though I like Will as a person, I don't think he's going to last that much longer as a starting quarterback in the NFL, especially with his coach Callahan on the sideline each and every week, just ready to pop. He's freaking out, going nuts because of the dumb decisions Will Levis has been making. All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout. When we come on back, I guess you could say Billy Napier is on the hot seat. I think that seat has already been burnt, quite frankly. We're just waiting to see when Florida is going to fire him. We will talk to the former head football coach at Mississippi State and Florida, now an analyst on the ESPN, and that is Dan Mullen, who will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's head out to the guest line right now. And we'll welcome in a man that coached at Mississippi State and also was the head honcho at Florida. And that, of course, is Dan Mullen, who's now doing a great job on ESPN. And you can see him tonight, South Alabama at App State on the call. Coach, always great to have you on. Thanks so much for doing this. And how you been?
Oh, doing great. Excited. It should be a fun game tonight. South Alabama scored 87 points last week and most in over 30 years in a college football game. But anytime you head up to Boone, North Carolina, you got a team that can score points. It's physical. That is a winning program in Appalachian State. So I expect it to be a high-scoring, fun game for tonight's matchup.
You know, I've seen you on the studio a lot, and I've caught you a little bit in the booth. I know it's now been 3 seasons since you haven't been a head coach. You've been enjoying this broadcast and stuff, it seems.
Oh, I enjoy it. I love being in the game, love talking about football, I've gotten to go call games at some different locations, schools I haven't been to. So I've really enjoyed that. I have a great studio crew. We get a great setup, get to watch just about every college football game that's played on a Saturday all in front of us. So I'm enjoying it. We're having a lot of fun.
You want to coach again, though, right? Like, you don't think you've coached your final game, right?
Well, you never say never. I mean, as everybody knows, a lot goes into it. And, it kind of seems easy, like, oh, let's just go coach some ball. There's a lot. It's a family decision for everybody in the family to be involved. It's making sure you're the right fit for the program wherever you would go back. And the right opportunity presents itself. You never know.
And let's be real, a lot less stress doing the games on TV than having to do NIL, transfer portal, and all that jazz now.
Yeah, you're always right on TV, right? Even if you're wrong, you're still right. Everybody forgets what you said the next week. And I think in some ways college football, I think there's a benefit having been out of it for the coaches that maybe have been out and not dealing with it all on a daily basis to see the transformation over the last couple of years, seeing it from afar, not trying to adjust one day to the next, seeing it from afar and how NIL has affected things, how you run your programs. Programs are run differently now. What NIL is all about, how to utilize the transfer portal, and being able to see that from afar, I think is very beneficial.
Dan Mullen here with us. So you were at Florida, obviously, and you had Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, so you know how that dynamic works. Now, unfortunately, Quinn Ewers hurt once again. Arch Manning going to start this weekend, coming up in a few weeks, right? There's Oklahoma on the schedule. There's Georgia on the schedule for Texas. How do you kind of think about this two quarterback dynamic? And I'll give credit to Sark, because when Arch went there, we all thought this was going to be a distraction. This hasn't been a distraction in the slightest. It's actually been a good thing.
Yeah, and it's credit to Sark and credit to Arch Manning and the Manning family as a whole of understanding what's important, which is development. The one thing that made people forget is that the most important thing about playing the quarterback position is development. And and so I think they understand that. Don't rush onto the field until you're ready to play. It's a very different situation than we had with Chris Leak, who was a starter, and Tim Tebow, who came and played, 5 to 10 plays a game in a specific package. These two guys, very similar skill sets in what they do. And so, I think it couldn't have happened at a better time. For Sark, you never want a player to get injured. You got Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State at home, then a bye week. And I think it's pretty cut and dry that you have the opportunity now for Arch Manning to come in, go through not just starting a game, go through all the preparation that goes into being the starting quarterback, right? I mean, this week, he's coming into meetings. He's running the ones in the huddle. Everybody's looking to him on the team as the guy. I'm sure his media has increased greatly this week than it has in other weeks. There's a lot of responsibilities that come with being the starting quarterback. And so he's getting to experience that over the next couple of weeks. But I think the second that Quinn Ewers, I don't think they're going to rush him back, but I would be very surprised if he wasn't their starting quarterback to play Oklahoma in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's the other thing. Like, I know we always joke, is Texas back? Quinn has brought Texas back. They went to the college football playoff last year. Injuries have been a problem. I know what the hype's going to be when Arch lights it up on the field, assuming he does this week and then maybe next week, and then the Manning name and all that. Like, there's intrigue to see Arch play, but I would be surprised if after a game or two, Steve Sarkisian goes, yep, Quinn Ewers, everything you've done. We're going to have Arch usurp you as a starting quarterback.
Yeah, and the benefit is that, Quinn has dealt with injuries every single season. And so the opportunity now for them to have two starting quarterbacks, there's a lot of football, especially you're getting into the 12-team playoff this year. There's a lot of football to be played, and to have two guys that you feel comfortable with is huge.
Dan Mullen here with us. The good moments in coaching, the bad moments in coaching. You've seen everything. Billy Napier at Florida, what is there left to say? It just seems like it's not a matter anymore of if he's going to get fired, just when he's going to get fired.
Well, and that's the hard part in college football. Obviously, I'm excited for that game. It's Mississippi State, Florida this week.
The Dan Mullen Bowl.
But you know what? I think Florida looks, and what Florida is very different now than when I was there even a couple years ago. They finally have a football facility, which is kind of a head scratcher in today's world, right? Didn't people have it like 20 years ago? No, they didn't. They finally just opened it right when Billy Napier got hired. They moved into a standalone football facility. So they were way behind that way. I think, he has the benefit of having administrative support. They've tripled the budget to catch up with other schools. So I think they've invested a lot in trying to catch the program up into getting it maybe I think a lot of people are like, oh, we've done all this, we must be past everybody. I think they just finally caught up with some other schools. And, I don't know that the answer is keep changing coaches every couple of years. I think I think when you look back in history, you would have had a lot of Hall of Fame coaches not make the Hall of Fame. Never mind, you would never heard of them, if they weren't giving more than their first couple of years to build a program. And so I think, there's a lot of ADs sometimes have a quick trigger, and the fans want that instant success now. We'll see. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. I'm not always a big proponent of firing a coach earlier in the middle of the season unless there's someone on staff that you want to replace him with that you think could be the next head coach. Because if not, there's issues. Once the head coach is fired, some of the players, they're like, oh, do we finish the year? Do we go to the portal? There's a lot of questions of who's steering the ship for that program just to get you through this season.
But you know what the conversation is now, right? Florida fans, and I understand it and I get it. They're already speculating on who could be the next coach. The big sexy name has been Lane Kiffin, who's doing a great job right now at Ole Miss. Like, do you think Lane would leave Ole Miss where he has them going right now to eventually take over Florida?
It's pretty funny. When I got let go at Florida a couple of years ago, they asked me, and I said, hey, I'd go hire Lane Kiffin right now. I said, if you're going to get rid of me, I'd go hire Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss right now. He kind of has that little bit of that, Florida, they love points. He's going to continue the offense to run points. He's walking in. Walking in with an Anthony Richardson. You're walking in with a top 5 draft pick at quarterback. So the program's in good shape offensively that way. There are some high-powered receivers committed and on the roster. And so I think he would have been a great fit right off the bat. But that was several years ago, and he's now gotten Ole Miss to, being in playoff contention. So I don't know if that's something that would interest him or not. It'd be, you never know in the coaching profession why maybe someone's making a decision. They're going to have their personal or whatever reason to do it. But, I think a couple of years ago, he probably would have taken the job if offered it to him.
Wait, so when they were firing you, and I know you had a long relationship with Florida, they asked you who should replace you?
I think we were just talking, and I said, hey, because you're getting let go, and there's still a game left in the season. So I said, hey, I said it's a very simple deal. Greg Knox, interim head coach, assistant head coach. He's going to walk in, not going to miss a beat. He went and led him to a victory over Florida State the next week. And, I think he was a guy in place, I thought, that could walk in and do that and take over as the interim head coach immediately. Because I asked that question because, I'm concerned for my coaches and you're concerned for the players. And saying that, I said, hey, you guys got to go hire a coach. And I told that to the athletic director. I'd go hire Scott. I told Scott Strickland, I'd go hire Lane Kiffin if I were you right now. Because, what if Florida wants points? They love that kind of that swagger, that attitude that Spurrier used to bring everybody. The coaches, all the coaches have been successful there have had. And I thought he would kind of fit right into that role and help move them forward, especially if they were going to give him the administrative support, finally have a facility, have a budget, let him create a recruiting budget that's competitive and have that support. He would do well with it.
It's kind of crazy. Like 5 years ago, if I got on the radio, Dan Mullen, and I said, hey, a coach at Ole Miss shouldn't leave for Florida, I would be told I'm like the biggest idiot in the world. But now at the landscape of the sport, it looks like it's a lateral move, or it could even be a step down from what Lane has right now at Ole Miss.
Yeah, you never know. It is. I think coaching, a lot of decisions, it's very personal for a lot of people. Where they're at within the program, the relationship, where they're headed, the support levels they have there, what they, and there's a lot that goes in to make it. I've had to make that decision. Sure. And there's an awful lot that goes into doing it. It's not just a simple decision. It's not just this job's better than that job or one of those. There's an awful lot of things that go into that decision.
Dan Mullen here with us. One more on Florida. I saw Urban say the other day, Urban Meyer, obviously, that ship has sailed. I don't think that surprises anyone that knows that relationship. I still can't believe he's not in the Ring of Honor, but how did you kind of process when you heard Urban say that the other day when it was thrown out to him?
Oh, knowing Urban really well. I don't know that, he wants to get back on the sidelines ever. I think he enjoys his gig that he does on the morning show, doing the TV stuff and being around football. So I don't know that you see him on the sidelines anywhere.
And I know John Gruden made it clear that he wants to get involved in the coaching game as a head coach. How do you think Chucky would be on a coaching sideline in college?
It's interesting. I think probably I would have said it'd been a rough adjustment before, because it's a different game. Not the game that's played, not the X's and O's. I mean, that's very similar. But how you go about running the program and the organization. I mean, from an NFL setup to a college setup, there's a lot of differences, whether it's the recruiting, the NIL, there's all the recruiting involved. You don't just sign players. You don't jump into a free agency midseason. Someone gets hurt. Guys got to go to class and do other things. So I think there's a big learning curve for guys coming to the NFL to go to college.
Get into some of the games this weekend. I know you're on the call for South Alabama App State tonight, wrapping up with Dan Mullen, the former coach at Mississippi State, and also Florida. Tennessee, I'm not saying they're the best team in the country, but they've been the team that's impressed me the most. I saw what they did early on up against NC State, and the difference in the score was very encouraging. Now they have Oklahoma. What do you kind of expect out of that game this weekend?
I think you'd love to say it's a big test for Tennessee, their first big test, but I thought they were tested in the NC State game by a quality team. It was a close game until right before halftime. They scored a defensive touchdown that kind of blew the game open. But I think that's one of the things for Tennessee. What's impressed me, obviously, knowing a Josh Heupel offense, they have Nico Iamaleava that is a great fit for him.
Great on the pronunciation, by the way. I think that's the best I've heard his name pronounced.
I coached at Utah, so I've had a bunch of Polynesian players as well, and but also, when you're doing the TV, you got to know some of the names. So, no, I think he's a great fit. But their defense has been really impressive. Oklahoma started. Michigan, where they're at, what they've done, and the steps they've taken, giant steps backwards. It looks like, you knew they weren't going to be as good as they were last year, but you figured, hey, we're going to sort out and figure out our offense. And they've kind of taken a jump or a leap backwards. Where USC, on the other hand, looked really impressive to me.
Yeah.
They look better. They're much better coming into this game. USC is much better than I expected, and Michigan's much, much worse than I expected. So I think it's a tough matchup. Obviously, you're a Southern California team. You're heading to the Midwest. You know what?
Hour number 2 of our radio program. That's right. It is
which that can always be an issue for USC the kids and the Southern kids going to play in cold up north weather. How they've been executing, how they've been playing. I'm going with USC. I'm going with
when
USC
I get to the Big 12, I know Utah plays this weekend. Going into the season, there's like 7 or 8 teams that you could probably make a case to win the Big 12. I made the case for Kansas State. Who do you like the best in the Big 12 this year? Just wondering.
Well, I think it's wide open. Kansas State, I think, is an excellent football team. Oklahoma State, boy, you hate to doubt them. With Mike Gundy, they find ways to win games every single year. They have an explosive offense. Where's Ollie Gordon been this year? We're still waiting for him to explode back onto the scene. And when he does, that offense is going to be even more potent again. Then obviously Utah. And, coming in, the newcomer to the league, but Kyle Whittingham's defenses, they're going to be Morgan Scalley, their D coordinator. They're going to be blitzing you from every direction. They're going to be big and physical up front. So they're not going to, when you go play them, you're going to sit there and say, okay, well, maybe they didn't load the box up. We can run the ball. And they got some big men playing defensive tackle, and you're not moving them. And all of a sudden say, okay, we can't run it. Let's throw it. And then look out, because they're dialing up blitzes coming from every different direction coming after you. So, I love Cam Rising. Hopefully he's back. And when he's back, he kind of brings that extra kind of it factor to the team that I think Utah is going to find a way to pull it out this year.
Last thing I'll ask you, we got your game tonight, South Alabama, App State. Tomorrow there's Illinois, Nebraska. Saturday we got a bunch of good games that we talked about, but I'm already on to next week. We got Georgia on a bye. We got Alabama on a bye. We know Georgia looked a little vulnerable against Kentucky, but Kirby Smart, he admitted he loves that because now he can actually coach up his kids and they could listen. And then Alabama, hey, we all love Saban, right? Saban's a legend. He's the GOAT. But I thought the player that would benefit the most from having a new coach come in, like an offensive-minded coach in Kalen DeBoer, is Jalen Milroe. I had Georgia, Alabama this year in the championship game. I thought some people were looking over Alabama, but I can't wait for that one. Give me an early thought on it next week.
Well, I agree. I think, Georgia's gotten away a lot with this kind of, they limp through games again, and then they kind of pull away late. And what you saw against Kentucky last week, they might not have the offensive firepower to pull away late this year. They're going to play great defense. So, it's not a surprise that going into the third quarter, it's a low scoring, close game. And then last year, what we're used to seeing them is, they kind of wear you down and then hit a couple of explosive plays. And we haven't seen that as much with Georgia this year. Where, when you play a team, like when you play a Kirby Smart defense, you got to be able to throw the ball down the field and have explosive plays. And then you got to be able to run. You got to be consistent running the ball, but create some big hits. Well, you know what? I think they have the ability to get the ball down the field with their wideouts. Jalen Milroe and Kalen DeBoer does a good job of that, is stretching you vertically down the field to make big plays. And all of a sudden, once you start defending that, now Jalen Milroe and his playmaking ability is going to allow you to have those explosive plays. Georgia's not going to let you go on 12, 13 play drives against you. But if you get the explosives, you win the game. And the interesting one is, if Alabama can hit those explosives, I don't know that Georgia will have the offensive firepower to stay with them in the game.
Great breakdown. I know we're still have a whole week to get through this weekend and then next week as well. Dan, enjoy the game tonight. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, great to be with you. Have a great day.
There he is, Dan Mullen, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. How about that? When he got fired at Florida, he was having a conversation and he recommended to Florida to hire Lane Kiffin all those years ago. I was not expecting that answer from Dan Mullen, and that would have been a heck of a hire. And now Florida's just hoping that when that job does open up, that Lane Kiffin will say yes. Right now, I still feel like he's going to stay as the head football coach at Ole Miss. All righty, we'll take a timeout. When we come on back on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, Eli Manning is on the Hall of Fame ballot. I think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. But Stu has put together a list of some quarterbacks that he wants to ask me about. Eli or that QB? We'll get to that when we come on back. Not update time first. We'll take a timeout and we'll be back after these short messages. Football is back, and what better way to celebrate than winning some cash with Sleeper Picks? Sleeper Picks is a fantasy game, but you can win real money. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. If your picks are right, you win. You can pick up to 8 players to win up to 100 times your money, and Sleeper has a couple of huge offers to kickstart the football season. For new users, Sleeper will match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. If you've already played, Sleeper's got discounted player projections for you every week of the season. So download the Sleeper app now and use promo code SCORE, and your first deposit will be doubled with the credit up to $100. What are you waiting for? Download Sleeper today and use code SCORE for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code SCORE, SCORE. Must be 18 years in most states, and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Paid for by Blitz Studios.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Fun continues on the Infinity Sports Network.
Early returns on our poll question. I can't speak today for some reason. What must the Jets do at the bare minimum for this season to be a success? Be in the Super Bowl, be in the AFC title game, win a playoff game, make the playoffs. 5 is be in the Super Bowl, 8 be in the AFC title game, 33% win a playoff game, and 54% say make the playoffs. I think it's win a playoff game for the Jets. We'll see what the Jets are made out of tonight, going up against an inferior Patriot team. Pats can win this game. I don't think it's impossible for New England to win this game tonight. It's unlikely. But if you run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson, you have a good enough defense, you keep the ball away from Aaron Rodgers and company. And through the first 2 games of the season, I've been more intrigued by the Jets' offense, even though it hasn't been stellar, compared to this Jets' great defense that they have. In the first 2 games of the season, the Jets' defense has not been any good. And you kind of look at the Jets. I don't think tonight you'll walk away feeling great about them. But if you want to show me you're more of a contender than a pretender, you don't even make this game close and you blow out the Patriots. And I say that wearing an Andre Tippett jersey, hoping the Patriots kick the Jets' ass tonight. Okay? But that's just the reality of the situation. So you had some of the Hall of Fame guys get released yesterday where it's a whole process. And I don't know if it was like semifinalists or just like who's the guys that go from $150 to $50, however they want to call it. But Eli Manning, obviously, first time on the ballot. He is eligible, and he made this round of cuts or whatever it is. So when you get to Eli Manning, he's very polarizing, even though Eli isn't a polarizing player when it comes to the Hall of Fame debate. I don't know if he'll get in on the first try. I don't love the whole, I know only 5 guys get in a year, but I don't love the whole first ballot Hall of Famer debate. Oh, this guy's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You either are a Hall of Famer or you're not. So I always think that's a little bit stupid. I will find it funny when Eli probably will get in on the first try. If you put a gun to my head, Zach, does Eli get in on the first try? Yes. That Eli has a chance to get in on the first try, but Terrell Owens had to wait 3 or 4 years, which was absolutely ridiculous and one of the biggest shams in the history of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But when you look at Eli, regular season, he was not a great quarterback. But in the postseason, when you go on 2 runs where you win 2 Super Bowls and you win 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and you defeat the greatest dynasty in the history of the NFL, you're getting in the Hall of Fame. And also statistically, even though I don't think we ever viewed Eli as a top 5 quarterback in the regular season, all time he's top 10 in passing yards and passing touchdowns as well. So yes, I do think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. If I had to compare Eli to a player, not a person, a player in another sport, I would say he's what Curt Schilling is to baseball is what Eli Manning is to football. Take the politics aside. I'm not saying, Curt and Eli see eye to eye in the political world and how they conduct themselves. I'm saying as a player, Curt Schilling was probably a better regular season pitcher than Eli Manning was a regular season quarterback. And in a crazy way, Curt Schilling's one of the greatest postseason pitchers of all time. I don't know if Eli's one of the greatest postseason quarterbacks of all time. But the point is, really good regular season player. And Curt should be in the Hall of Fame. The reason he's not in the Hall of Fame is, I don't even want to say just politics, but when you talk about lynching journalists, and then you ask those journalists to vote you in the Hall of Fame, even though I'm not defending anything Curt Schilling has said. Let me be abundantly clear on that. But I think we should just keep the focus on baseball when it comes to Curt Schilling. And Curt Schilling's done a lot of despicable things and has said a lot of despicable things. But for me, the Hall of Fames that I've always stood by this, it's about what you did on the field. And are you an all-time great or are you not? But Curt Schilling in the regular season was a very good regular season pitcher. But if it was just based off the regular season, he didn't have the postseason career that he's had, he would never be in the conversation for the Hall of Fame. But when you factor in being a very good regular season pitcher and one of the most feared postseason pitchers of all time, winning 3 World Series, yeah, that's what gets him into the Hall of Fame. That's what makes him his case, and we'll see if he gets in one day. For Eli, it's similar. Really good quarterback. Solid quarterback. You could do a lot worse. You could also have, in the regular season, a lot better. But postseason-wise, you can't tell the history of the NFL if you exclude Eli Manning out of the Hall of Fame. Because the unstoppable force for 20 years were the Patriots. And Eli Manning beat a team that was 18-0 on the verge of history, and then also played them again 4 years later and beat them again. And in those runs, he was magnificent. Against Green Bay, against San Francisco, the grittiness he did show. I know you have the Tyree play, and then you have one of the great throws in the history of the game to Mario Manningham. So Eli Manning, to me, is a Hall of Famer. But Stu, you have compiled a list of quarterbacks from the last 15 years or so that you think it could be a conversation, Eli or that quarterback. And I'll give you my answers on this right now. So what do we got cooking?
All right. How about his NFC East counterpart, Tony Romo?
Who would I rather have? I'd rather have Eli Manning. Tony Romo was a really good regular season quarterback. If he had a great postseason career, all right, maybe it's a closer argument. But Tony Romo, it's kind of similar how I view Dak Prescott. Really good in the regular season, but there's limitations. And I don't think you ever view any of those guys as top 3 quarterbacks, but you know that it's going to have a miserable ending in some capacity. So, yes, I'd rather have Eli Manning over Tony Romo.
What about Eli or someone else that was in his draft class, Big Ben Roethlisberger?
Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was the better regular season player. He was thought of more of than Eli Manning in the regular season, and also Big Ben did find a way to win 2 Super Bowls. So I would rather be Big Ben.
And another guy from that draft class, another quarterback from that draft class, Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers?
I love Phillip Rivers. I do. Phillip Rivers is a gamer. He's a warrior. He is tough as nails, playing that AFC Championship game up against the Pats on a torn ACL. And he was a better regular season quarterback than Eli Manning. But in the postseason, that's the difference. Phillip Rivers, what did you do in the postseason? What did you do in the postseason? I'd rather be Eli Manning over Phillip Rivers.
Eli Manning or Matt Ryan?
Oh, that's a good one. Because Matt Ryan won an MVP. If Matt Ryan won the Super Bowl against New England when he was up 28-3, I think the answer would be Matt Ryan. But he didn't. He choked it. And Matt Ryan's career, unfortunately, when you think of Matt Ryan, as good of a quarterback as he was, and maybe underappreciated at times, if you say, what's the one moment that you remember Matt Ryan's career associated with, it's choking a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. So I'd rather be Eli.
Eli Manning or Donovan McNabb?
Number 5 will always love you. I love Donovan McNabb. Really good regular season quarterback. Was always there in the postseason. Bunch of NFC Championship game losses. Lost in the Super Bowl. I'd rather be Eli Manning. Eli Manning, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 Super Bowl championships. It's Eli over Donovan McNabb. But Donovan McNabb was a very good quarterback.
What about Eli Manning or Stafford?
Oh, boy. That's a good one. Stafford won a ring with the Rams, was on those dreadful Detroit Lions teams, has only made 1 Pro Bowl. Oh, that's good. I think, see, that's close. But no, like, individual outstanding award for Matthew Stafford. That's as close could be. I'll go Eli slightly over Stafford.
What about Eli Manning or Joe Flacco?
Very similar. We're guys that were good in the regular season. No one ever viewed them, this is going to be intentional, as elite. I know that's very, what's the word? Contentious that I'm talking about. Conversational. Not conversational. What's the word I'm looking for? Controversial. My brain is fried today. I'm stupid today. I'm just going to be honest with you.
You're already at MetLife Stadium.
Yeah.
Mentally.
I've had a week. All right. So I would say with Joe Flacco, it was similar to Eli. No one ever viewed them as great in the regular season. But in the postseason, I'll tell you, as a Pats fan, I fear Joe Flacco more in the postseason than Peyton Manning. And it ain't even close. Not even close. But I would say Eli because of the 2 Super Bowl MVPs. You know, Flacco won a Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl MVP, I think. Yeah. But I'd rather go Eli just because of the 2, and they're both against the Pats.
All right, last one, Eli Manning or Russell Wilson?
See, that one's tough. You want to know why? If Russ didn't have the last 3 years, I think it may rather be Russell Wilson. But the last 3 years have happened. And Eli had an ugly end, too, with the whole McAdoo situation. But you know what? Russ does have that kind of Matt Ryan feel to him, where if you look back at the career of Russell Wilson, like Stu, let's do a little exercise here. Russell Wilson, first moment you think of on the field.
The Seattle Super Bowl victory of the Patriots.
Well, the loss, you mean?
The loss, yes.
The interception.
Yeah, the loss, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
With like Matt Ryan, great career, but 28-3. And at least Russ won his Super Bowl, and he was a 9-time Pro Bowler. But with Russell Wilson, even when they won the Super Bowl, and this was an insecurity he had, you thought more Legion of Boom, Marshawn Lynch, Pete Carroll. There were other things you thought of. So because of that, when I think of Eli, I think of the 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I'd rather have the career of Eli Manning than the career of Russell Wilson. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll come on back. A storyline that was flying under the radar from Monday Night Football. Am I looking too much into this one? I'll get to it on the other side. Update time first. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, Bill Belichick may no longer be coaching, but we're on to week 3, and his former team, the Patriots, renew their rivalry with the Jets, who are playing their first home game of the season after splitting the first 2 on the road and coming off a win in Tennessee on Sunday. Under Gerard Mayo, the Pats have split their first 2 games, falling in overtime to Seattle this past weekend. George Kittle sat out today for the Niners at practice due to a tight hamstring, putting his status for Sunday in jeopardy. Also uncertain is Justin Herbert, who did not do drills today because of an ankle injury. Jordan Love was in pads for the second straight day, and T. Higgins, who had missed 2 games with a hamstring injury, was back at practice as well. The announcement, not much of a surprise, but Arch Manning will make his first start for Texas against ULM with Quinn Ewers still banged up. Baseball right now, bottom of the 8th. It's the Blue Jays 3, Rangers nothing. Mariners with an early 3-0 lead over the Yankees, top 2. Earlier today, the Guardians playoff bound with a 10-inning victory over the Twins 3-2, who are now tied with the Tigers for the final wild card. The Orioles get a 3-run game-winning homer from Anthony Santander to beat the Giants 5-3. The Braves rout the Reds 15-3. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam and just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. I don't know if you caught this, Stu, and I don't know if maybe I'm looking really too deep into this, but I saw a video before the Eagles-Falcons game on Monday night that I was at. And on the field before the game was Matt Patricia and Bill Belichick. Now, Matt Patricia worked on the Eagles staff last year. He was eventually the interim defensive coordinator, replacing Sean Desai, however they wanted to call it. And Belichick is now out of a job. He was supposedly interested in the Eagles, but the Eagles never fired Nick Sirianni, and Belichick is now a media mogul, which is crazy because he despised the media for all those years. And Bill is a part of the Manning broadcast now, I guess, but the Mannings aren't at the games. So he was in Philadelphia at the game on the field before the game, and then I guess went into the press box or some booth, and they had him, ESPN's calling the game, obviously, Monday night, and they had him do that hit, I guess, live from the stadium. But I don't think Bill needed to be there, and I know he didn't need to be there to do the hit. So I asked, why was Bill there? I think that's Bill, once again, just trying to make himself as visible as possible. And Belichick, right, in this new era of coaching, you got to kind of be a player's coach, but you don't want to be too much of a player's coach where you can't be a doormat. He's in that mode right now where he needs to reshape his image, where we all know Bill Belichick is associated with greatness. We all know he's a 6-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach. But I don't think that was just a coincidence why Bill Belichick was in Philadelphia on Monday night. I think he wanted to be there. I think he has a lot of mutual respect. Howie Roseman, Bill Belichick, Howie Roseman. And I think that was kind of Bill. You know, a dog will mark their territory, where a dog will just take a number one, take a leak somewhere. I think that was Bill just kind of taking a leak a little bit and marking his territory, saying, guys, I'm the new Bill Belichick. I'm the 6-time Super Bowl champion. Remember me? You know, I'm going to appear to be friendly with the media. I'm going to do all these jobs, smile on McAfee show, smile on the Manning cast, do Inside the NFL, have all these moments, right, that are fun moments where now I look like a different person and I've been humanized a little bit. That's what I think Bill is doing. And I said this was going to happen the moment Bill was going to let go. I said, if Bill doesn't get hired, Bill will go on one of these tours. Remember like McCarthy? I forget who they had come over, but they had someone go over his house, and he said, oh, look at me embracing all the analytics, right? And, oh, this is how McCarthy spent his year away. And it perceived that there was this image that now Mike McCarthy's an analytics guy. Did that actually translate over to Dallas? No, he's the same Mike McCarthy as he was with Green Bay. So with Belichick, I think that's the one knock on him. Like a team like Atlanta didn't hire him because they feared that, right, a lot of those people in the organization were going to lose their job. And Bill, right, he's not going to be able to coach the way that he coached in New England because the my way or the highway guy act in the year of 2024 doesn't work anymore. But Bill being in Philly last night is another visible moment, right? Bill missing football. Bill's chopping it up with the Manning brothers. Fun, rubbing elbows. Oh, Belichick, he actually smiled. I can't believe it. And then I don't think it was a point by Bill that wasn't calculated because he know Philadelphia, passionate fan base, Sirianni on the hot seat. Let me just be there, and maybe the Eagles will go on out and have a great game. But if the Eagles don't have a great game, then you may have people saying, what? Fire Sirianni. And also, who were they playing? The Atlanta Falcons. I think that was Bill also being there. If the Eagles did have a great game, oh, Atlanta, Arthur Blank, you wanted to hire me, right? You could have got me. So that was like kind of a win-win for Bill Belichick last night. Falcons suck in the game, let's just say. We should have hired Belichick. Why did we hire Raheem Morris? Eagles suck in the game. Get rid of Sirianni. Let's go get Bill Belichick. I thought that was a very calculated decision, Stu, for the hoodie, BB, to be in that building the other night.
Yeah, it's a very astute observation by you. And I was watching it. It's funny. When they showed those two, Patricia and Belichick, when they were honoring Nick Foles.
Oh, did they?
The ESPN broadcast did. And Scott Van Pelt, those two guys that were very, instrumental in the Nick Foles success story or however they worded it. And I thought that was fun. But you're right. Belichick, even though he is a part of the broadcast, the ESPN2 Manning cast, there's no reason for him to be there.
Peyton and Eli aren't even there.
They're not there. If they were all there, I would get that. But no, you're totally right. There's absolutely no reason for him to be there. That was definitely him trying to, get his name and face out there more.
It's actually a missed opportunity by the Manning broadcast to not have Peyton and Eli there. Like, I get it. That broadcast is supposed to be more conversational, more laid back, right? Like, sit down on your couch and just, pop open a beer and watch football and talk about it in a fun way. But that game in particular, who cares if Peyton Manning's not there? Eli is more of the character, I think, than Peyton. Eli, to me, is the better broadcaster than Peyton. Peyton, when he was playing, like Saturday Night Live, right, big personality. I think Eli is funnier, and I think Eli is better on the Manning broadcast. And Eli loves playing that villain, like that unintentionally polarizing villain, because he's such a good dude. Like when I had him on the Super Bowl, I'm like, ugh, this guy ruined my life. And then he just looked at me. He goes, yeah, we had the screw Zach Gelb play in that Super Bowl. With the whole tirade, it wasn't like he didn't put any a glue on his helmet. We just said, yeah, let's go ruin Zach Gelb's life. Like, I walked away from that interview after talking to Eli, and I'm like, I can't hate this guy, even though he gave me just two horrific losses that, as a kid, were definitely tormenting. There's no doubt about it. But imagine if you had Eli in that building at Lincoln Financial Field the other night. Like, Eagles fans don't hate Peyton Manning. Belichick, they did hate Belichick. But then they got their revenge winning that Super Bowl. So it's like one of those things where if you had Eli walking on the field before the game, the boos in Philadelphia would have been great. Right now, like, if you look at the Belichick market for next year, if I had to put you on the spot, Stu, I think there's 3 destinations that immediately come to mind. What would you say 2 or 3 of those destinations are? I'm just curious if we have different thoughts here.
I would say Eagles, Cowboys, and I have 2 more. Either the Giants or Bears.
Ooh. Okay.
Those would be my 4.
I think those are the right 4. It's funny. Earlier in the week, I said Belichick and the Bears. I threw that out there. And then I forgot that I said it. I was going to go with the 3 right there. I was going to say Giants. I was going to say the Eagles and the Cowboys. I think Jerry Jones would do it. Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman want more of a puppet as their coach. But when the puppet didn't work to winning you a Super Bowl, like Sirianni's had success. First year made the playoffs, second year went to the Super Bowl, third year, I get it, they were 10-1, they were terrible down the stretch, but he's made the playoffs 3 times. So I can't say that's a disaster of a hire. However, with that being said, when Sirianni had his flaws and he kind of lost control of the locker room, Belichick's the complete opposite of that. So I would think the Eagles ultimately would do it, and they have so much talent there. And then the Giants, man, I liked Shane and Daboll, but these first 2 weeks have been embarrassing. You could be bad, but it can't be embarrassing, and it's been embarrassing. However, the Giants are so far away. I know Bill has a lot of respect for the Giants. Why would he go there? Like, if you're those 4 teams that we just mentioned, Cowboys have a quarterback at least. CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, you could sell me on winning games. Maybe not winning a Super Bowl, but winning games in Dallas. And you know he wants to go get that Shula record, which he's not that far off from. The Eagles, you could talk to me into Bill going there, winning a Super Bowl. The Bears, they got talent. That line needs to be fixed, but you could talk to me about Belichick going there and winning games in 3-4 years and then riding off into the sunset. You may not have another Super Bowl, but you could go to the playoffs. The Giants, they're so far away. They don't got a quarterback. All right, you got Malik Neighbors. You got some good defensive players. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Bobby Okereke. But there's not. The Giants are clearly the outlier there. When you look at those 3 teams, I would say if I'm Belichick, Eagles would be 1. The Cowboys and the Bears is tough. It's tough. I think for Bill, Cowboys would be 2. Bears, he could run the entire show, but I don't think that's great for Bill. I would say the Bears would be 3 and then the Giants would be 4. I think those are the 4 destinations. I do believe Belichick, though, will be coaching next year because the Falcons were interested. The Falcons wanted to hire him, but that image perception on can he coach in 2024, be the My Way Highway guy, all these TV appearances, people are looking at Bill like, oh, look, he's enjoying it so much. Bill knows what he's doing. He's not a dummy. He's trying to trick you. And Bill will go back to pretty much being the same old Bill when he becomes the coach of wherever he does become next. But I do think, I would be very surprised if Bill doesn't get hired this cycle and Bill doesn't get another opportunity to be a head coach. He's a legend. He's an immortal. He deserves that. All right, this is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Someone that was drafted by Bill Belichick in New England. First-round pick out of Florida, Dominique Easley, is going to be joining us on the other side in studio. He was drafted by the Pats, did play for the Rams with McVay, and also starred at Florida. So he'll join us on the other side. We'll do a little Billy Napier conversation, talk about the Pats, and go around the entirety of the league as well with Dominique Easley.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, rocking and rolling. Hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We're now joined by a former first-round pick of the NFL out of Florida. Heck, Florida could still use this guy with the way that they're playing these days. We'll get to Florida in just a bit. We'll start off positive. That is Super Bowl champion, played for the Patriots and the Rams, former first-round pick Dominique Easley with us. We'll talk about his foundation as well. Dominique, appreciate you coming on in. How you been?
Nah, I appreciate you having me. I've been great.
So how has this been? You've been out of the NFL for the last few years. How has kind of life been to adjusting without having football in the daily grind?
It's honestly, it was going great until I say about like last year is when I really started missing the game. Like I really started missing the camaraderie. I really started missing that feel that you can't get no one else. You can't get nowhere
Would
else.
you want to coach? Just wondering.
It's crazy that you said that. I just spoke to Muschamp probably a couple of days ago about getting back into coaching. So next year I will be back coaching in Georgia, and then I plan on going to college.
No, that's pretty neat. See, the college game right now, I find it to be so interesting because for all those years it'd be like, oh, man, coaching the NFL, it's so much tougher than college. College, you get to control everything. But now with NIL and the transfer portal, all things I am for, to be clear.
Yep.
It's kind of been NFL football in college.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. You got, for instance, Travis Hunter. He's making $2.5 million a year in college. I was making $736 before taxes.
You couldn't even get a meal with that.
Exactly.
Especially in this city if you come back to New York.
Exactly. So it's crazy that college has turned out to be the way it is.
And we know the right players got paid back then, but it was all hush-hush.
Exactly.
And then if you took the money and you got caught, then you were basically banned from the sport. You know, we all know the Reggie Bush situation. It was a joke how long he had to be without his Heisman Trophy.
Glad he got it back.
Yeah. Oh, phenomenal.
Yep.
Now, I'm a Heisman Trophy voter. I would always say it's stupid that he doesn't have the award. But it's cool now that these guys are able to benefit off their time because, like, for you, example, first-round pick, you go to the NFL, you play a few years, and unfortunately got hurt a bunch. You had a window where you could have made so much money in a legal way if you were just allowed to, doing appearances at auto ship dealers, you know, doing autograph signings, stuff like that, whatever commercials or, you know, it's just something that it stinks because you never know how long of a window you have.
Exactly. And I always tell people, for me, coming out of college, I was a big brand. There was this Chucky brand. Everybody used to call me Chucky. I used to walk around with the Chucky doll. I would have been making the same amount of money that I did in the NFL in college. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing.
It never made sense to me because you always look at the pie for college football. Coaches got paid a ton, right? All the commissioners, all the conferences got paid a ton.
Schools
obviously got paid a ton. And it was like, oh, the athlete never got paid. Like, I went to Temple, so I was close with Deion Dawkins, one of my close friends.
Okay.
Hassan Reddick, I know well.
Yeah.
And, like, those guys graduated. I instantly got them an autograph deal. And it was like, it was only for, like, $2,000 or something like that, but
it was a lot of money then.
When you're not allowed to make anything back then, and someone gives you money, it's life changing.
You got to think about Pale, right? Everybody, guys that's making millions of dollars now. We was excited for Pale. Pale was no more than $3,000, but that was the world to us back then. Now $3,000 is chump change for these kids.
Yeah, heck, you look at Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. Carson Beck, Arch Manning. Right? I know he's starting this week, but he's not starting, full time for Texas. And look how much money they're making. Alrighty, Dominique Easley is here with us. Patriots. So towards the end of your career, when you got to New England, Gerard Mayo, or the beginning of your career, Gerard Mayo was ending his career.
Yeah.
I know you were back in New England last week celebrating Super Bowl 49, which is one of my favorite Super Bowls of all time. But when you look back at Gerard Mayo, when he was a player, it was almost like he was a coach, right?
And that's what I tell people. Everybody that was playing with Gerard knew he was going to be the head coach at some point because that's exactly how he took on his role. Even with me, even with the linebackers that was in there, he was always a coach at all points of time.
So when you get drafted, right, the Patriots at that point already had 3 championships. I know players change, but you got Belichick, you got Brady. As a youngster, was that intimidating walking into that locker room for the first time?
I would say no, because I came from a championship culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, coming from Florida, that was a championship culture. Obviously, we didn't get to a championship culture. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but it was a championship culture, so I understood the expectations that came with it. And then, as you know, Belichick and Myers, they kind of had the same motto when it came to things.
Yeah, how would you describe getting recruited, just recruited by Urban Meyer?
It was very interesting. When I was getting recruited, Herb and the defensive line coach, Coach Mack, had actually flew up to Staten Island, and my mom worked in the projects. So they went to the projects and actually sat with my mom, but my mom didn't like them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my mom didn't like them at all. So I stopped talking to Herb in Florida my whole senior year. I didn't speak to him at all. But it was different because you can tell when he used to walk in the room and I had other coaches, other schools, the Rutgers, and everybody else in the room, he was separated. Like, you can tell how much weight he actually held.
So how did you end up going to Florida if mom wasn't on board?
Under Armour game. So I wound up winning the MVP of the All-American Under Armour game that year, and we all sat down, all the recruits at the Under Armour game that was thinking about going to Florida or was already committed, and we all said, yo, we all gonna go. And I didn't even speak to them. I didn't tell them that I was coming to Florida until we was on the bus going to the game, and I had to do the hat picking. I was committed to Oregon.
Okay. So when you did the hats, how did that all go? Like, was mom mad?
No, she wasn't.
It wasn't one of those viral videos where the mom's getting up and leaving. How dare you pick Florida? You disown from the family.
No, it wasn't one of those. She was more so happy that her son got a full ride scholarship to a elite school, and she was a little scared because I was going to Florida, not knowing that I was going to Gainesville and not Florida.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whole different.
Not Miami.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So Dominique Easley is in the studio with us. We'll talk about your foundation in a bit and all the great work that you're doing. So we all saw the documentary that came out with Florida. And I know it was more so before you were at Florida. But were those workouts that Urban had still the same when you were there? Because I get my way, highway type of coach, and I know Urban's a very tough coach. Yep. Watching in the documentary, all those late night practices, exactly. That's something like I've never seen.
So what you see, as far as that, absolutely correct. Like we had workouts to where we wrestled each other at 2:00 in the morning, 4:00 in the morning. Like when you first get up, it's two men. You put them next to you, put them in front of each other, and you just go at it into the whistle bowls. So that's what I guess that's what always gave us the edge when it came to how we played. But it also took a toll on us as well.
Yeah, how did you guys even walk around campus after those I just remember when I played in high school, we would have those off-season workouts, and I always thought it was so stupid because I was a lineman. They would make you jump on these on top of these boxes, and I go, I don't need to jump to play football. I need to block someone as a left tackle. It was stupid, but the next day you always knew who was on the football team because we're walking around Comac High School on Long Island. And you couldn't walk up the steps.
Exactly.
So how did your workouts are a lot tougher than mine, I can tell you that. And I'm weak. But how the heck did you guys just walk around?
We loved it. It made us feel untouchable, to be honest. Like I was just telling somebody that ever since I retired, I started to feel human. Like that. Like that's that's the feeling that we get, and that's the scares that come behind it is we start to feel human. Like we don't feel like we're going through things to make us feel unhuman.
And then how do you feel now, though? Just wondering.
My body feels great. Body feels great. But it still takes a toll. Like I've had 16 surgeries, 3 ACLs.
Wow.
Yeah. So my body has been through a lot. But I'll say I feel like I retired at the right time.
So when you see someone like Tua Tagovailoa, right? That's been a big topic of conversation. You think he should?
I think you should go.
Should retire.
Yeah, because you got to think about his next hit. We don't know what that hit is going to do. We don't know if that's going to be the end of his life. We don't know if that's going to be the end of his functionality. You know what I mean? And you want to take that chance for a game that's going to end regardless and it's going to continue when you're gone. So why would you take that? Why would you do that to your family? Why would you do that to yourself?
Is it tough for you now, just wondering, to watch football since you were a part of it, big college program, big NFL team? Is it tough to watch it now, also knowing what happens after football ends?
It's tough. It's tough, but it's not because it's tough because, like I said, you can never get the feeling of walking out of a tunnel anywhere else in life. And that's one thing. And that's one thing that players lose themselves over is searching for that feeling. And I'm a part of that. I'm still searching for that feel, somewhat of that feeling to feel again, but you can't. So that's what makes it tough because when you go to watch games, you're watching it different. Like if me and you were sitting there watching the game, I'm seeing a whole different game than you're watching.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I mean? So it's tough to sit there and watch it and not know. And know that, dang, I can't get that feeling right now.
First time walking into the Patriot locker room when you finally met Tom Brady. What was that interaction like, Dominique Easley?
It was dope. Obviously, hearing about Tom Brady, you would think that somebody with that celebrity status would be cocky, would be off-putting, but no, he's the same person every day. When you come in, he's going to say hi to you. It don't matter if he's seen you once, if he's seen you twice, he's going to say hi to you. He's going to ask you how your day was. So what you see in the media is who he is. And that's rare, to be honest.
Tougher to play for Belichick or Urban Meyer?
That's a good question. I like that. I would say Herb. Belichick is believe it or not, he's a team player. He's definitely a player's coach. He's a player's coach more than what people think he is. And when you get older, you start to realize those things. When I was young, I didn't realize that.
And also, I have to imagine, right, when you were in college, even though both were my way or the highway type of guys, you could get away with more as a college coach than an NFL coach. I would imagine your practices were tougher at Florida than they were in New England.
Without a doubt. Oh, yeah, that's 1,000%. I'm going to tell you a story. It was my rookie year. It was the first camp. It was 110 degrees outside. Somebody passed out every day to the point where ambulance has to come on. We would move up. This would be the words. Move up 20 yards up. While the ambulance is putting the person in the back, we still going.
Wow.
I overheated. My body temperature was over 100 degrees while I was in an ice tub.
Huh.
And guess what? That next practice, I had to get my behind right back out there.
Yeah.
So it was different. It was different. But at the same time, what I will say, being in Florida, that was needed because that first game, if you're in Florida, that's exactly how you're going to feel.
And that's why I think that Bill loved a lot of the Florida players and Alabama players. I know he's very tight with Saban, and that relationship goes back so many years, but he knows how they practice, and they would not, it wouldn't be a foreign language to them. Even the Rutgers guys, right?
Yep.
Coached hard by Schiano.
Yep.
I think there's a reason why he drafted all those guys because he realized, okay, they'll be ready for tough practices and no-nonsense stuff.
Exactly. And it gives you an edge because one thing that we did when it came November and cats was putting off their pads, we still had our pads on. So by the time we was in game, our body was acclimated to that by the time the playoffs came.
So Dominique Easley here with us. We'll talk about your foundation. Going back to New England last week, they celebrated the Super Bowl 49 championship team. You were a part of that team. What was it like being back at Foxborough?
It was dope. It was dope because you got to see everybody. You got to see what they was doing, and it was good just to have that feeling again. You know what I mean? Because those were a great group of guys. Group of guys.
Now, unfortunately, you got hurt during that run.
Yep.
But you were on the sideline, right?
Yep.
For what happened, the Malcolm Butler play.
Yep.
So Brady hits Edelman. Great comeback. Oh, they just did that to the LOB. And then another crazy catch, and I'm sitting there with my uncles and my cousins, and I'm like, I can't believe this is going to happen again.
Yep.
And then Russell Wilson doesn't hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch. And take me through how you processed it.
Practice. We practiced it in practice. We practiced it in that same week, so we knew exactly what was coming. Fortunately, Malcolm stepped up, and he did what he was exactly supposed to do.
Ernie Adams, right, was a big part of that, too.
Yep. Yeah, Ernie's in the background all day, every day. And it's crazy that you bring up Ernie. When you first get to the Patriots and then you just see somebody, just a random old guy just sitting in the back just watching practice.
You're like, who's this guy that looks like Albert Einstein?
Yeah, so you have guys like us just sitting there betting. We putting up bets on what he does because you're not told what he does when you come in there. You got to figure it out or you go talk to Ernie.
Do you think Belichick will coach again?
No.
You don't?
No. And I'll say this. I think he will try, but it's a different era.
See, here's why I think I will.
Mm-hmm.
He will coach. He's doing everything now in the media. Bill goes for Mr. Mumbles at the podium, right? Champion, but negative image and so much of the fact that, he's a my way or highway type of guy, not a player's coach and all that. That's a perception. Now he's smiling, right? This to me is a calculated move by Belichick, and everyone's going to say, oh, wow, Bill's great on TV. Oh, Bill's smiling. This is a different Bill. I think there will be enough jobs this cycle, whether it's Dallas,
without a doubt,
Philadelphia, maybe even Chicago, the Giants. Yeah. That's why I kind of think he's going to get hired this go around.
When you put it in that perspective, I didn't look at it in that perspective on what he's doing in the media and how he's trying to change his brand image. I think so. Yeah, I think it could be a possibility.
Did you ever have a moment with Belichick where you said something in the media and he was like, Dominique, we don't do that. Right? We just don't do that.
Did I? No, I don't think I did. But we've had every Monday when we come into a meeting, Tuesday or Monday, we come into Monday or Wednesday, but we come into a meeting, somebody's up there. Somebody, majority of the time it's Rob.
For the Uggs commercials.
Yep.
Right.
Majority of the times it's Rob. Rob is usually the one that's up there. Yeah, he always says some outlandish stuff.
I can understand that one. Yo soy fiesta. So I know you weren't there for Super Bowl 52.
Mm-hmm.
And I've asked this question to Malcolm Butler before, and it's like the greatest secret ever. Do you know what happened why Malcolm got benched for that Super Bowl?
No, I don't. I don't know what happened at that point in time, but the only thing that can come up that I can think of is that he just kept getting beat or there was something internal that was going on. But usually stuff that's internal when it comes to the Patriots, don't really
get out.
Yeah, don't get out, nor does it affect him, the person playing, if they're at an elite level. You know what I mean? Like unless you really did something to harm the team, I'll say. And obviously it can be at different levels.
So you go from New England after a few years there, and you go to the Rams. Eventually, you get to hook up with Sean McVay.
Yeah.
McVay as a coach, probably a 180 from Belichick, and the young whiz kid, and really a player's coach.
Yeah, without a doubt. I love Coach McVay. Like he's without a doubt understanding of what you're going through as a professional athlete. And that's one thing that you can't get out of a lot of coaches because they've never experienced that. If they've never experienced it, they don't want to try to understand. And they think it's this way because of what they've seen.
How would you describe Aaron Donald being in the same locker room?
Oh, that's my brother. Yeah, that's my brother. He's one person that works. What he has received is what he's worked for. Every little bit of it. Like his work ethic is crazy.
Do you think he'll ever come back to the NFL? Because you know that conversation's going to happen in a few weeks. Oh, this team in a playoff run? Maybe they call up Aaron Donald.
I would say no, and the reason why is because family. Like he's enjoying his kids. He has his kids at home. He's finally leaning into his family. He's enjoying seeing his kids play football. So I think he's enjoying his kids' growth.
And also, I know as a competitor, right, there's always things that you think you could do more of.
Yeah.
He's accomplished literally
Everything.
Defensive Player of the Year, all pros, Super Bowl. I think he was he told me this when he was on with us. He was motivated to go get that second ring.
Yeah.
And once it didn't happen, it was like, okay, I was already thinking about retirement. Now it's because he said he wanted to play for 10 years.
Yeah. We've had that conversation many times. 10 and done. When he got the Super Bowl, he was thinking about finishing it. But like you said, he wanted to go back and try to get another one and try to be up it a little bit.
Are you surprised Billy Napier is still the coach of Florida? Because after he got blown out this weekend, you start the season with 2 blowouts in the swamp. I thought that was it. He was going to get fired.
Yes, I am surprised just by that comment that he made. I mentioned it earlier. When you sit here and say that you expect a team like Florida to be 0-3 in the season because of the type of schedule that you have, that's not our culture. We expect that schedule, and we want that schedule because we know we're going to dominate that schedule.
What advice would you give whoever they bring in, right? If that coach calls you up, which this is what coaches should do, right? Yep. They make the players before them feel welcomed, an open door, all that stuff. They say, Dominique Easley, what do you need to know? What do I need to know about being the head coach of Florida so I could have success here? What would you say?
Our culture at Florida is a grind. We work to the point where we separate ourselves and we have something that comes with us. And it's nasty. Like the way we play, if you look back at the years of who Florida is, we play nasty. We play loud. So if you can't give that same energy at all times, it's going to be hard for you to last here. So we need you to be loud.
It's not a matter of if he's going to get fired, Billy Napier. It's just when they do it. Who do you want to be the next head coach?
I always like Lane. I know everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin. I love Lane Kiffin ever since because I played against him a lot at Tennessee. So I always loved I loved his energy. He has the culture of Florida because even when he's at Tennessee, he made that same culture. That culture was at Tennessee.
Here's my thing, though. I think Lane would be the best, the home run hire out of the candidates that people are talking about. It's weird, and I said this to Dan Mullen when he joined us earlier today. 5 years ago, if I would have gotten on the radio and said, the Ole Miss coach shouldn't leave to go to Florida, I would be told I'm an idiot.
Yep.
But now with how it is, and he has Ole Miss humming, and Florida's in a bad spot, it's almost like it's a lateral move in this landscape of college football.
I believe so. I never had the opportunity to talk. You talking about Dan Mullen, right?
Well, no,
Lane.
I'm saying Lane.
Oh, yeah.
If Lane leaves Ole Miss for Florida, is that an upgrade? I right now it's a downgrade.
It is. It's a downgrade. It's a downgrade, but at the same time, he knows if Lane comes back here at Florida and does what he's supposed to do, you can't do that at Ole Miss. You can't. You have an opportunity to do that at Florida, but you don't have the opportunity to do that at Ole Miss.
And I saw Urban said, he goes, that ship has sailed. I don't think Florida's calling him back.
No, he's done. He's done at Florida.
What do you look for, Patriots, Jets tonight?
Obviously, I'm always gonna go for my boy Mayo and Brissett because I played with him in college. But Jets is looking stronger right now. And when it comes to the Patriots and the Jets, it doesn't matter how the season's going. It's always going to be a game down to the wire. Always.
And then before we let you run, Dominique Easley, tell me about the foundation, all the good work that you got cooking up there.
Yeah, so we have an Easley Foundation where we serve athletes from all sectors, mental health, where we're now trying to give people resources to understand how to be vulnerable and also communicate within this vulnerability during your transitioning stage as well as when you're in the NFL, because we don't know what our family's going through. Our family doesn't know what we're going through, and that's why a majority of these guys wind up losing themselves or failing because there's no vulnerability to correct the mistakes that's internal.
Great stuff. Hey, really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
All right, there he is, Dominique Easley. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a quick time out and come on back after these short messages. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks can be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game, and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of shields, guards, and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at depend.com.
You're in a 4.5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The fun continues on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, this portion of the show is sponsored by the new 2025 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid that has class-leading advanced safety features like the available blind spot view monitor to make your ride more enjoyable. Stu, that's crazy. We're gearing up for 2025 already. They already got 2025 cars out. That's why it's coming to. This was a quick year. I'll tell you that. Man, kind of sounds gross. 2025 we're already moving to. You know what that means, Stu? We are getting old.
Yeah.
We are getting old. Not good. Let's get to the 49ers. So let me play you a cut here from my BFF, Deebo Samuel. He was on the Cleats and Convos podcast via Bleacher Report, and Deebo made it clear that he's not satisfied with the recent success the last few years of the San Francisco 49ers.
If I'm looking at it like you just said, for as hungry, I'm full at this point. I'm full at this point. Like, I mean, it's time to really clean the plate. Like, it's either now or never. Like,
right.
That's how I kind of look at it. Like, with the guys that we have, like I've been a part of, the best team in the NFL for the past going on 6 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, we always there. Like, we got to get it done.
All righty. I get it. The Niners have been one of the best teams in the NFL. And maybe I'm being a little picky here, Stu, so you tell me if I am. But he said the best team in the NFL, right? That's what Deebo Samuel said. I'm not going crazy. I didn't hear something there.
Best team in the NFL.
It's Kansas City. You can't tell me that it's San Francisco. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. But San Francisco has beat the 49ers twice in the Super Bowl, and they've won 3 championships. And Kansas City made it to an additional Super Bowl as well, the one that they lost to Tampa Bay. So, yes, I understand why he says that. You have been one of the better teams. And right now, aren't they kind of in, not that it's the same, but you look at teams that haven't won championships that were great teams for a long stretch. Like, look at the Buffalo Bills. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls. 4! And they didn't win 1. The Niners are kind of in that territory where they're always in the NFC Championship game. They're in the Super Bowl a bunch, and they just don't win. So it's like one of those things where if you don't get this soon, even though you have Shanahan and you have John Lynch as well, and you got so much talent, eventually getting there and getting there and getting there and getting there and coming up short, it catches up to you. And eventually that window shuts really quickly. So I do appreciate Deebo talking about the urgency to go win, but this is early on in the season, so maybe you get the injuries out of the way, but it also could be an ominous sign. I just saw Schefter tweet out, McCaffrey right now, calf Achilles injury on IR. That's the one I'm most concerned about. Even though you could plug and play Mason and be fine, he's dealing with a calf and an Achilles injury. That just sounds like really dreary. Deebo Samuel, calf injury, will miss a couple weeks. All right, he should be good, though. And then you have George Kittle, who is now dealing with a hamstring injury, and he did not practice Thursday. And I do think you could pay a quarterback a lot of money and still win. I do think that's somewhat of a misnomer. But with that being said, they're doing this right now, paying all these guys without having to pay the quarterback. They didn't really have any big money tied up to the quarterback. Jimmy G's been off the team now for a little bit. Trey Lance was a rookie quarterback that did not work, and they survived having to give up all that draft capital. But they have a lot of guys making money right now. And, Stu, that's a decision this year, right? They're going to have to go pay Brock Purdy in all likelihood. Because Brock, he's a free agent in 2026. If you are a franchise quarterback, we thought Dak was going to have to go through this year without a contract, and he eventually got paid. And I know Dak is more accomplished than Brock Purdy, even though Brock has been further along in the postseason in his short time in the NFL. But you look at Brock Purdy, I would have a tough time thinking next year he's walking into 2025 on a base salary of $1.1 million and a cap hit of $1.19 million, right? Like those may be the numbers for next year, but you know that they're going to have to give him a new contract. And then for the future years, you got to go spend out of the wazoo for the quarterback. So I really do believe the Niners got to get one this year or next year. And if they don't get one in 2024 or 2025, they're going to have to, in a big way, reconfigure that team because that team's going to have to look different because Trent Williams will eventually retire. Debo takes a lot of hits. How much longer is he going to be able to play? Is he still a great player 3 years from now? Probably not. You just paid Ayuk, so you hope he takes over that role. McCaffrey, how many more prime years does he have left with all the injuries? On the defensive side of the ball, we know all the names that they have. This has an expiration date. And I really do think the Niners' expiration date is 2025, after the 2025 season. Now, you can, with that coaching staff and that general manager, you could retool it where it's not going to fall flat, but this version of the 49ers is going to look a lot different, and they're not just going to be that team that you look at in the NFC in 3-4 years from now, and you guarantee me, hey, they'll be in the NFC title game or they'll be in the Super Bowl because that quarterback who is good, don't get me, I'm not saying he's great, I'm not saying he's elite, I'm not saying he's bad, I'm not trashing Brock Purdy. He's a good quarterback. But when you have to pay him all that money, how many more pieces of the team do you got to trim? And that's a big question. Would you think I'm being too easy there? Just wondering. Like I'm telling you, hey, 2024 and 2025. If they don't win this year, do you think this is when it starts to crumble down?
No, I think it's 2 years. I do think they have a 2-year window. Now, off the top of my head, maybe teams with shorter windows, the Jets come to mind because they have the 40-year-old quarterback. Maybe the Rams if, Stafford getting older. But other than those two teams, I can't even think of a third team that has a shorter window to win than the 49ers. I just think it's...
What about the Bengals? I know Burrow's young.
Yeah.
But with how many injuries he suffered, probably T. Higgins not being on that team next year. The Ravens, too, Lamar.
Yeah.
With his style of play. Like, those are just two other teams that I think of that have been close that haven't got the job done.
Maybe the Bills. Just because of what's around Josh Allen. I don't know if they've built that up enough.
I think we have to punt on the Bills till after this year.
Yeah.
Because the Bills right now are 2-0 to start the year. They beat a Cardinals team that's better than advertised, and they just crushed the Miami Dolphins. But this is the year where it's like, oh, the Bills are retooling, and they could still be really damn good, and Josh Allen is that good. And I know he's suffered some injuries, but he hasn't really had to miss games. So that's why I punt on the Bills. But you're right, that's another team that's been really damn close. So that 49ers team, you better get one the next 2 years. Because if not, that's the team that turns out to be, what could have been. And you better hope. Let me ask you this. You're a Niners fan. With the way that the Chiefs have beat you, now you've been up by 10 and you lost both. Do you want to see them again for a third time in the Super Bowl?
No.
Or you're just like, hey, give me anybody else?
Anybody else. I think it's to a point where you just want... I think your best chance is not playing the Chiefs. If they play the Ravens, if they play the Bengals, the Bills, they have a much better chance than they do against the Chiefs.
Could you imagine if they get to the Super Bowl and let's say the Chiefs go down in the AFC Championship game and you get Cincinnati there, you get Buffalo there, a team that also has been close, and you don't get the job done? You want to talk about demoralizing, especially for Shanahan, right? It's one thing when you're the OC and it's 28-3. Then you're the head coach. You've been up by 10 twice and you can't slam the door shut. And then let's say you get to another Super Bowl and then Mahomes isn't there and then you can't beat, let's say, the Bills or the Bengals or the Ravens, whoever. Oh, that man Even though he has a very nice life, don't get me wrong, is one of those guys that gets into bed and you're looking up at the ceiling saying, how the heck am I in this spot again? Where I had all these good teams, all these teams that were close, and just couldn't get the job done. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, I can't believe this is a topic. Nick Saban. Is he going to be making a return to college football? There is a talk show host that threw out where Nick Saban could be coaching next, or at least bare minimum, a school that needs to call him. This has 0% chance of happening. You know what? Let me rephrase that. This has a negative infinity % chance of happening, but we will get to that on the other side. Update time. You got to hear this audio. First, let's get to the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, a pair of longtime rivals meet to open Week 3, though a lot has changed since the last time they met. The Jets host the Patriots. Now have Gerard Mayo coaching the team, and the Jets finally have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Both come in at 1-1. The Jets coming off their first win, the Patriots coming off an overtime loss. The 49ers have more injury problems or concerns to their offense, with George Kittle missing practice today due to a sore hamstring, while T. Higgins, an encouraging sign in Cincinnati, back at practice after missing the first 2 games with a hamstring injury, and Jordan Love wearing pads for the second straight day for the Packers. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert, though, nursing an injured ankle and did not do any drills at Chargers practice today. Lots of baseball action this afternoon, and the Guardians clinch a playoff spot with a 3-2 win over the Twins in 10. Minnesota now tied with Detroit for the final wild card in the American League. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. pair of homers, Kevin Gausman and 4 relievers combined on a 2-hitter. The Blue Jays blanked the Rangers 4-0. The Braves got a pair of homers from Matt Olson and Michael Harris in a 15-3 win over the Reds. It was the Orioles over the Giants 5-3. Dodgers lead the Marlins 5-1 top 3, and top 5 it's the Mariners 3, Yankees 2. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So we were going through the names yesterday on who could replace Billy Napier at Florida. Now, he hasn't been fired yet, but he is going to get fired. That is the definition of a dead man walking. Now, the hot name is Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin. I don't think Lane Kiffin, I think there's a chance, but I don't think it's likely that he's going to leave Ole Miss for Florida. So after that, where do you go? Right? People have talked about Mark Stoops. People could talk about, let's see, who else were some of the names? Chris Kleiman. There's been other names that could get suggested. And I saw a report yesterday. I saw Jamie Chadwell was the favorite to get the job on the odds, which I thought Lane should have been. And then there was a report Florida's not looking for a G5 coach. They're looking for a coach that's coached at a big program before, a proven coach. Now, does that mean it takes the Georgia defensive coordinator out of the running? I don't know, because at least he's at a big program or you've had success. You're waiting for that next job. So there's been a bevy of names that have been floated out there to be the next Florida head coach. And Urban Meyer is not happening. Even Urban Meyer even said that. He goes, that ship has obviously sailed. So when you go through all these names, you knew that someone was going to throw it out there. But just because you throw something out there doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Other names that we could consider for this job, the USF coach, has been brought up. Eli Drinkowitz as well, the coach at Missouri. You could go through a lot of names that get tossed out there. But with that being said, I knew this name was going to get tossed out there in some way, somehow, because it's just easy. All right, it's an easy discussion point. Not that we do a show for clicks. Like, we don't need to be desperate to just throw something out there to throw something out there. But you knew some show was going to say, hey, Florida, call Nick Saban. Make Nick Saban say no. Which, don't get me wrong, I do think if you're Florida, you have to call the old ball coach and say, hey, Nick, you interested? You want to come to Florida? Miss coaching? Miss Terry make you do too many chores in the house? You ready? You ready to come back to coaching? You won at LSU? You won all those championships at Alabama? Come win at Florida. Really stick it to Urban Meyer. Right? You got to have him say no. But that phone call is almost a waste of time. Because if you think Nick Saban is coming back, you are delusional, you are an idiot, or you have not paid attention to the reason why Nick Saban isn't coaching at Alabama anymore. Because Nick Saban would not have left Alabama. It wasn't like he had an issue with Alabama. He's still involved at Alabama. I was trying to get DeBoer on this week, who comes on all the time. And I was trying to get Kalen DeBoer on this week, maybe for the Georgia week. He would have a few minutes. He ended up not being able to do it. But the SID that I know at Alabama got back to me. He goes, I'm still at Alabama, but I only do requests for Coach Saban still. And they have a different SID that does requests for Kalen DeBoer. So we were going through all those back channels and everything. So Saban did not leave because he hated Alabama. He left because he hated the structure of college football right now, where he's a my way or highway type of guy. And it's like, you go spend all this time getting a recruit and they have a bad practice, or they don't like the way that Saban looked at you or talked to you, or because Alabama, right, is a program that isn't instant satisfaction, right? They have all the All-Americans all over the place. So you could be a great player, not play until consistently your junior year potentially, right? It's a certain structure. So Saban can spend all of his time getting this great recruit, and after 1 year, the kid goes, I'm going to the transfer portal. Now, I believe in the transfer portal. I believe in NIL. Right? We just talked about it with Dominique Easley. But doesn't mean that Saban, who is the GOAT and is the standard, needs to put up with all that stuff. And that's why he left. So, no, Nick Saban didn't leave Alabama to go become the coach of Florida a year from now. He didn't need to recharge the batteries. He didn't need to reset. You never looked at Saban and said, that guy looks old. And that guy looks like he's someone that should retire. No, he left because of the structure of college football. But anyway, here are our friends on XL Prime Time, 1010 XL Jacksonville. Matt Hayes talking about how the Gators should try to land the big fish, Nick Saban.
I 100% would take a run Nick Saban. 100%.
Yeah, why not?
I'd say, and Jimmy Sexton again, Jimmy, you think Nick has any idea or any inkling that he might want to come back? Because Nick talks about Florida all the time.
Yeah.
That Florida is just a coach away from being this huge monster. How much is it going to take?
Yeah, it would be very interesting to see if you could appeal to him in that way.
I don't think he'd do it, but my point is I still would do it.
Right.
If I was the Florida president, I would 100% do it.
He still has tuned out on the whole transfer portal and NIL. He has.
Plus, he's also really good on ESPN, so he's
the other one that
he's got a good job now.
I don't even get the conversations, though. For example, I understand the take business, right? If you're going to throw out that take, hey, and we basically just, discussing it, you got to make the phone call, but he's not going to take it. But if that's going to be your take, Florida needs to go get Nick Saban. You can't be like, I would call Nick Saban, I would try to sell him on Florida, but he's not going to take it. I don't even think you need to bring up that point if you're the local show there in Jacksonville and you're going to do that segment. You can't throw the idea out there and then right away just dump a bucket of cold water on it. Not that I am the radio professor and I need to teach everyone how to do radio, but if that's what you're going to do locally, and locally is different than nationally, have some fun with it. Don't be like, Hey, let's say when Antonio Pierce inevitably fails, unfortunately, still. The Raiders, they need to call Bill Parcells, and they need Bill Parcells to say no. He's not going to do it, but you at least got to call him. Just say the take. Just say simply, Florida needs to do their due diligence, and they need to call Nick Saban, and they need to roll out the red carpet for Nick Saban. That's all you got to do. But it's such a dumb conversation to be had because, as he said, that talk show host Matt Hayes on the back end of his conversation, he's not taking the job. So it's like, why are we even throwing that out there? I saw that Emmett Smith, by the way, our pal, was on Kay Adams' show, Up and Adams. And she asked him about Billy Napier and the future of Billy Napier. And Emmett Smith said, quote, "It's going to be very tough to watch this season. If Coach is right that he has nothing to worry about, he could see a fourth year. Kudos to him. But I'm not seeing it happen." Close quotes. It's a good line by Emmett Smith. 100% right. Does anyone actually think Billy Napier's coming back next year? With how bad this has been to start the season, how can it get better? How can you save your job? I'll give you the answer. You beat either Georgia or Texas. Does anyone think that's happening? I'm serious. Does anyone think that's how you play? You lost to Miami. Got blown out by Miami 41-17. You beat Samford. Woo! 45-7. You lost to A&M 33-20, and let's be real. That game was more of a beatdown than that. You play Mississippi State, who cares? UCF, who cares? Tennessee that doesn't save your job. Would be a great win, though. Doesn't save your job. Would be a great win. Then you play Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State. I'm sorry. When does he get fired? And maybe he just didn't want to do this to the interim. But if he gets blown out by Tennessee, if somehow he gets blown out by either Mississippi State or UCF, it's going to be tough, right? If they lose those games, I'm not saying they should win. They shouldn't beat anybody, quite frankly. I can't trust them to beat anybody. But if they get just embarrassed by Tennessee, you're only then keeping him around just to be the coach that gets blown out by Georgia and Texas. So he'll inevitably get fired. The question is just when. I think it's going to be really ugly against Tennessee. And then that's the game that's the final nail in the coffin. All righty, fun show today. Big thanks to Dominique Easley, Dan Mullen for coming on, Stuart Kovacs, Michael Samter, and each and every one of you. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.